The opinions and comments expressed in this podcast are solely those of the students and do not necessarily represent the views and opinions of sjspr.radio or St. John's School.
You are tuning into sjspr.radio. This is Senior Talk, the show where we pick seniors' brains about school life and real life. I'm your host, Viviana Ramos, and joining me in this episode is Laleigh Piñero.
Thank you so much for having me, Vivi. I'm so excited to be here.
And we're excited to have you. So first off, we want to talk about college. We're getting right into it. How does the college application process make you feel?
I know for me personally that the college application process invokes a lot of different feelings, but for me, I think the perfect word to describe it is nervous-sided, because I'm really nervous about, like rejection, which is of course part of it, but also I'm excited at the thought of starting starting new and all of that stuff.
A new chapter in your life.
Exactly.
So, I understand perfectly how you feel, because with me, I'm nervous about, leaving this place. It's been such a, safety for me, and it's where I've basically grown up, that, going to another place now feels like it's literally, another, I don't know how to explain this, but, an alien world type of thing.
See, and I get that for you. For me, I just feel like because I've moved around a lot in my life, because I've lived in 3 different places now, and obviously I feel like here, St. John's and PR, I feel the most attachment to, but still and this is where I've lived the most of my life, but still I've only lived here since 6th grade, and it isn't the big, I'm still excited to move on and see new things.
What places have you lived?
I was born in Chicago, and I lived there until I was 4 years old. So I don't remember it that much, but I still have the majority of my dad's side of the family there. And then after that, I moved to Florida, and I did elementary school there. Horrible, not my favorite. And then when I was starting 6th grade, moved here, and been here ever since. But I would definitely say, at least for me, PR, St. John's, this is where I've made, especially because this is where I've spent my adolescence and most of I would say my formative years. Mm-hmm. I've made my strongest friendships and relationships. You, of course.
I think for me, since I've been in Puerto Rico all my life, it's where I was born, it's where I was created, and the same with St. John's. Shout out to my grandma. She's worked here for 50 years, and during that time, she's always brought me along, and I feel like teachers would come up to me and be like, oh my gosh, Vivi, I remember when you were a baby, and all these things, and I'd be like, yeah, I remember those times too, or something like that. I would joke along with them. But I really started in pre-K, and those 13 years of my life, I can say at the beginning, it was just childhood. It's what every kid kind of goes through. But really when I started getting excited and forming my life was going into high school. Mm-hmm. I feel like that's when we truly start becoming who we are, and we start shaping outside of the mold that our parents put us in, and that's Definitely. When we become ourselves.
Yeah. And also I think part of the becoming ourselves, you and I are both very independent people. Mm-hmm. And I know for me, and similarly for you, we're both excited to go to college to expand on
branch out.
Exactly, branch out and expand on our independence, just to find new parts of ourselves, and also experience new things that we couldn't experience here. And also there's so many things that come with the college experience that you don't necessarily get as in high school, not even just the crazy stuff, but also it that independence, it fosters so many new things that allow you to find yourself, and I personally can't wait for that.
I think it's really lucky that how independent we are, because with that we have so much knowledge already going into college. We know how to cook for ourselves. I especially love whenever Laleigh's made me scrambled eggs, and baking. We've done so many things. And with that, we also know how to like take care of ourselves and take care of others, which is something that maybe not as many people have had the experience of having, which, you know, I think is a great thing to have. Another question for you is, are you excited for college? I know we've kind of already touched on this point, but I feel that different points of views about this can vary. What is yours and why?
I am really excited for college. I'm planning on I'm only applying to schools that are in really big cities. I'm only applying to schools mostly in Chicago, and then the rest are in New York. And I want to go to schools in these big cities because I want to go to schools. Well, first of all, when you go to these schools in these big cities, you get like student discounts. So like you can go to like museums and like shows and things, and you get like crazy student discounts to like go explore and like do all these things. And there's like so many resources, like you can just go and like see so much stuff, and that's what's super exciting to me about that. And also like I can't wait to meet new people, you know, like make new friends, like just experience all that stuff and like learn new things. Like what's exciting to me, like this year in St. John's, where the only classes you have to take are in English or Spanish, but everything else is basically just electives. And I'm taking really only classes that I want to take, and I love all of my classes this year, which every other year you just kind of go to school and your classes are, it's just kind of how school is, like you take classes, you know? But like I'm excited to like learn things that I'm really excited to learn.
Exactly. I really think that like the city vibe is the vibe for us. So like I think I'm applying more to like Boston area, some places in New York. But other than that, like I also want to see if going outside of the States is an option for me, which is like something that I don't know if a lot of people are thinking about, but I'm sure there's like a couple of them. I just think like I want to learn stuff outside of Puerto Rico, like different cultures and experience new things like that.
Where outside of the U.S. are you like thinking about going?
I have crazy thoughts. Like I think of like traveling the world, and then other times I'm just like, no, like I'll stay here. But that's like that thought stays very shortly. But places like in Europe or Spain or I even thought of going to like South Korea. I spoke to Doron about this, and she was just like, you're kind of crazy. But you know, I love learning new languages and like cultures, honestly. What are some of the interests you'll be pursuing?
I'm really interested in psychology. Well, I'm definitely a humanities person, like all the way. I've taken like so many of the AP history St. John's has to offer. But I've definitely like recently I found like my interest in like psychology with like doing psych research over the summer and stuff like that. And I'm really interested in like liberation psych, and specifically like how that relates to like how that relates like to like developmental like areas. And so I kind of want to go into research. I've realized recently, and when I talk to my parents about that, they're like, you're crazy because that you'll make no money. But like also you gotta do what you love, you know?
Yeah. I think I also want to pursue psych. I think this is like a major point that like we've connected over. But for me, I'm kind of trying to see, because before I used to like shut down the thought of being a teacher like immediately, just because I saw how much hard work my grandma put into teaching and like the years that she put in, and I was like, there's no way I can be a teacher as dedicated as her. And like, you know, I thought that was just going to be like too hard for me to do, and that I didn't really have the love or passion that she had for it. But recently, like I've kind of like awakened the side where I was like, maybe I do want to pursue teaching, or maybe, you know, something along the lines of like, because, you know, like I've loved working with children. I've done babysitting and just helping them out, and also with my little sister. So it's like I want to learn new ways of like helping kids out.
Definitely.
So if we want to move on to the next question, what scares you the most about leaving SJS and going to college? At the same time, is there anything you are looking forward to?
I think one of the things that scares me the most is like leaving my sister. I'm gonna miss her so much, and I know she's gonna miss me too, because she gets genuinely mad at me that I'm leaving. It's like I can't control that.
Yeah.
But I know like it's just like, you know, it's like it's her way of like coping with it, but it's also like I'm gonna miss her, and like she's gonna miss me, but it'll be okay. Like we got FaceTime. But like also like I am actually like I'm scared of like our like friend group and like like I'm gonna miss you guys and like I think also the thing is most of us are like we are like applying to schools in like the same general area, so like it could end up that like we all literally end up in like the same city like for
I mean,
college.
I feel like that would be amazing, or at least like
Yeah.
nearby, so that every now and then we can have our little meetups. And
Exactly.
be like, what are you guys up to? What's happening? But yeah, I definitely feel that. But I also feel like during this year, we're all like growing in different ways that I like we weren't really expecting. We were such a like tight knit group, and I think now we're all like not separating, but like independently trying to figure out where we should be going and what we should be doing for ourselves. I feel like before we were all like, let's go together, like let's all
Yeah.
be together. We'll buy a house, get this huge mansion, like ideas like that we knew weren't gonna be possible, but we always like looked up to. But I also feel like you're missing your sister. I'm gonna miss my sister so much. Like you guys don't have as big as an age gap, but me and my sister have a 10-year age gap. So like seeing her grow up and becoming her own person has been such an experience. 'Cause let me tell you, I loved when she was like a little baby and she wasn't really like a real person. Like all she did was like cry and like whine about things. I'm sorry. I love you, Alana. But like when she started becoming her own person, it was kind of like such a shock to the system, because it was like
for sure
she started revolting and like she was just like, no, like I'm not gonna listen to you. And I was like, what is going on? Like you're 10 years younger than me and you're already making me feel like you're going away and leaving.
Yeah, when Harper was a baby, I used to like, granted we only have a 4-year age gap, but I used to like wonder, I'd be like, before she started talking, I'd be like, I wonder what her voice is gonna sound like when I would hear the baby babble, I would be like, I wonder what like the actual voice is gonna sound like. It was something that I like always wanted to know.
Yeah, for sure.
And now sometimes I wish I never wondered.
Okay, what are some of your most cherished memories at St. John's?
I think some of my most cherished memories like inside St. John's would be like we have so many like fun memories like inside the classrooms, like just hanging out with teachers, like literally just like probably bothering them so much like during their free time.
Gosh,
like
every single day.
Myatt and Miss Jang specifically, like our English teachers, we love them so much. Like we would just go to their classrooms after school or like during their lunch or like never give them any free time. We're so sorry, guys. Are we?
But I think like because at the end of the year we finished most of our APs and we had already finished the exams. Honestly, we were going to school for like no reason, and during those time periods it was like the teachers are also free, so we would just like hop from each teacher to like the next, and whoever was free we'd be like, hey miss, how are you doing?
Exactly.
And then we would just start talking about like everything and nothing at the same time.
Definitely. And I think also another thing that we've really enjoyed, like our school breaks, like we've really enjoyed together. Our trips together that we went on last year for Labor Day when we went to Isabela with Sophia. That was so fun.
We had such a nice time, like those moments where we get to relax together, and it's just like we don't have to think about school, we don't have to think about the future, and it's just like us together, and that's all we have to do.
And it's like it's just like so chill, and we always end up going to the beach. Like I just love that. And like the thing is like because we both live in Condado, so like we live so close to the beach and we literally never go because we're so busy.
And then we always are like, why aren't we going? Like the beach is right in front of us. What's stopping us?
And like but like we always like during like when we have like a vacation, we always make time to go, which I love.
And Culebra was another trip that we went on where I think it was so much fun because it was just us two and we were just chilling, and the meals that your mom and your dad would
oh my god, that was so good.
Delicious.
So good.
I could not get enough. I think I gained like an extra 20 pounds during that trip. There was no stopping me. And just because that trip we were really like independent, and we were just going to places by ourselves. We rented out the golf cart and we were just going all around. I mean, granted it was very tiny. But by the second day there, we already knew where we had to go. We knew all the routes.
Exactly. We were literally like, oh my gosh, this is gonna make me sound like such a nerd, but I've been watching One Piece recently. And like there's like they like get the map to like, I don't even know what it's called because I'm on the second episode, and it's like that's how like we were like navigating to like find the One Piece, but like we weren't trying to find the One Piece, we were just like trying to have a good time, and it was so fun.
Another thing that I really enjoyed was how like disconnected we were from our phones, where it was really just like us two. Yeah. And I think the only times we interacted with our phones were to like send like little hellos to like certain people, and then I think we got an app, and like that was about it.
Oh, that's when we created Schnookums.
Yeah, we have our pet baby Schnookums, which I haven't been taking care of. I'm so sorry.
You haven't been, but it's okay.
It's my fault. Do we want to move on to the next one, or do we have any other memories?
I think we can move on to the next one.
Okay. Are there any moments you'd wish you could go back in time to change? What would you have done differently based on your current level of experience, and what did you learn from it?
I think for this one, I think a lot of us have like a lot of regrets. Like a lot of mine are like, oh, like I should have worn something different on that day because that was a really bad decision lately. But I just think now, like I try to like use like my past experiences, and I try to like, especially because now I have like a little sister, and like I try, because like right now she's going through it, and like I try to use my big sibling wisdom, and then I'm like, and I'm like, oh, like, like you could always try and like do this, and like I try and sound like all smart and stuff. And like she sometimes never wants to hear it, but like sometimes she does, and it makes me feel good, when she wants to listen to my advice. But
you're like her little voice of wisdom, of reason.
Yeah. And like I really I like that she goes to me for advice, and I like that she sees me as that person. And a specific moment, I honestly can't think of a specific moment because there are so many. But yeah, how about you?
I think something that I regret was like in my adolescence. Not really, but I was just like still forming, and I was still becoming my own person, and I feel like I was very easily influenced by those around me and what was going on. I wish that maybe I didn't follow along those lines so quickly, because like then I felt like I was becoming another person and not the person who I wanted to be. There was also like this experience that I had in 8th grade where I got into some minor trouble. Honestly, I don't think that what certain people did was so wrong, but I've definitely learned from it, and like having that experience, I've really grown just to like be smarter about my choices, because the choices that I had made did get me into trouble, granted, but like I also wish that I hadn't lost some of the relationships that I did during that time, because I got separated from like some of our friends from our friend group, really, and because of those choices, it was more like my mom was like, maybe don't hang out with them, and I think I was like, I just followed along with what she said, just because like I was like, okay, well, my mom's telling me not to hang out with people just because of like something that happened. And I feel like I've lost some of the time that I could have had with you guys, and like listening to some of the things that you guys would do when I wasn't like friends with you guys. I was like, I wish that like I could have been there.
Yeah, I get that. But at least now, like looking back on that one experience, it is a funny story.
It is funny story. And like we kind of found what like got me into trouble a couple weeks ago, and we were like, oh my gosh, like that's so crazy. Like unbelievable that one little thing got me into trouble.
Yeah, for sure.
And then we've talked about our siblings a lot, but since we both have siblings at this school, what are some pieces of advice that you would give to them? I'm saying this for our siblings, but this advice can be for anyone, really.
I think for our siblings, granted our siblings have a big age gap, because what grade is Laleigh in?
She's in 2nd grade.
She's in 2nd, and Harper's in 8th. But I think like for my sister, definitely, because she's in her middle school girl era, and I would definitely tell her like don't be a snake, like definitely like be nice to your friends, because it's so easy, I think, especially because like they're growing up in like the like really like big like social media era.
Oh, yeah.
And like we started
That's
with
such
it,
a scary
like,
thing.
like YOLO, remember that? Like
That's what got me into a little bit of problems.
And me too, just a little bit. But like they are growing up with it so much, and like and Alana specifically, like when they get to like that level, like I just think they need to be like super duper careful like with what they post and what they say to people, and like
it can be very hurtful things,
and how they manage themselves online. Just because, granted, like I would always like whenever people told me that when I was in middle school, I'd be like, this is ridiculous, like why are you saying that? But like now looking back, like it is true, like you do need to be careful with what you do, because it can mess with your relationships.
It really can. I think like that's why I got into trouble. Like social media can be like, and guys, don't put me out to be like a really bad person, I promise I'm not, but like doing like little things can just like, people can't see the full thing. Like social media is really like just like a one, like how do I say this, like 1% point of view, and so anyone can take it the way they want to, and because of that, like you can't really fight your case. It's just like, this is what people see, this is what people think, like, and that's just how people are going to see it as. And because of that, I'm really worried about my little sister, because already it like, she doesn't have enough restriction with it, so it's like she can go onto YouTube and all these things, and like I've always been a very big like, we should put restrictions on the things that she can watch and stuff like that, because like I said, you're very like easily influenced during this time period, so it's very worrisome that she's able to see like all these people and people outside of her age group. So it's like she starts trying to act more mature than what she is, and acting like she can do certain things when she's not really at an age to be doing some of those things. Yeah. So I would say like try and tone down your social media use, and like just try and be more in the moment. Luckily, like my little sister doesn't have a phone yet, but I'm very worried about that time if it ever does come. And then to wrap up with the most important personal takeaway that you believe will best serve you when you leave SJS.
I think when I leave SJS, the most important personal takeaway that I have, first and foremost, I think is like the relationships that I formed in my time here. Like I think definitely like my friendships with you and like the rest of our friend group, like they're like some of like most of them I like very, like I think I will carry for like a long time. And then continuing on from that, I think also I feel like I've also like I've learned a lot, like AP World 10th grade with Mandy, like that was like my favorite, that's like, I think my favorite class I've ever taken, and my favorite teacher I've ever had that's no longer here. She's alive, but like I miss her so much, and like, but I learned like from that class, like that's what like opened up like my love for like history and humanities and like writing, and like basically like what brought me to like realize like what I want to study and like what I want to do like professionally like in the future. Granted that like literally could change in like a year, but like as of right now, like that's like when I'm applying, like thinking of what I want to do, and that is something I've also like learned a lot from in SJS. And then finally, I think something I've learned a lot in SJS is I've made a lot of mistakes here, and I think I've learned a lot from those mistakes, and I think some of those mistakes have been pretty big, and those are things that I've learned a lot from, and I'm happy that those are done, and I've learned from them, and I have made progress from that time.
Yeah, and that's perfectly normal. I mean, I think that during these years, we're bound to make mistakes, whether they're big or small, and it's just like how we take away from them and learn from them and use them as experience into becoming, I mean, we can't be perfect, but what we want to be, and like close to whatever we think our own perfect self can be. For me, just like you said, St. John's has had some amazing teachers, and like I think because of them, I've learned like who I am, and they've really helped bring me up, because St. John's is really like a second home. It's become like part of like my second nature, and being taught by my own grandmother and like all these amazing teachers throughout the years, it's like you wonder like, wow, like how did these people come to be? And the fact that they were like teachers to begin with is like, I'm glad that you are here.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, is there anything we want to add on?
I don't think so.
Well, that's about it for now. But before we go, I want to thank my guest and fellow senior of this episode, Laleigh Piñero.
Thank you for having me, Vivi.
If you're a senior and haven't signed up yet, contact our radio and creative media coordinator, Miss Alamo, at 787-948-8986. Please include your name on the text message. For sjspr.radio and Senior Talk, this is Viviana Ramos. Until next time.